Before European colonization, the land now known as the United States was home to a vast and diverse array of Native American tribes, each with their own rich cultures, languages, and ways of life. Historians estimate that around 500 distinct tribes lived across North America. These tribes, while different in many respects, shared common experiences and challenges, one of which was the constant threat of external forces seeking to colonize their lands and impose foreign systems on them. Among the tribes, some stood independent, while others united in powerful confederacies like the Iroquois Confederacy, the Blackfoot Confederacy, the Sioux Alliance, the Powhatan Confederacy, and the Wabanaki Confederacy. Despite the vast differences between these tribes, their common goal of survival and resistance against encroachment brought them together in many instances. Territorial disputes, competition over hunting grounds, and control over resources often led to intertribal conflicts. Yet, in the face of European expansion and the rising power of the United States government, these tribes found a shared purpose in resisting foreign domination. Some tribes stood out as particularly formidable in their resistance, and today we will delve into the stories of the three most feared Native American tribes by the U.S. Army: the Lakota Sioux, the Apache, and the Comanche. These tribes not only shaped the history of North America, but also became enduring symbols of courage, resilience, and defiance against overwhelming odds. 1. The Lakota Sioux, warriors of the Great Plains. The Lakota Sioux were undoubtedly one of the most powerful and feared tribes of the American plains. The Lakota, a subgroup of the larger Sioux Nation, consisted of 7 distinct bands: the Oglala, Brule, Hunkpapa, Minneconjou, Siassapa, Atazipco, and Sans Arc. Their homeland stretched across the northern Great Plains, including present-day North and South Dakota, and their influence spread across vast territories. The Lakota were traditionally semi-nomadic, moving with the seasons to hunt bison, which were central to their way of life. Their culture was deeply spiritual, and the land they occupied, especially the sacred Black Hills, held immense religious and cultural significance. The Lakota were renowned for their warrior culture. Their bravery, horsemanship, and military strategies were legendary. The arrival of horses, brought by the Spanish, revolutionized their ability to fight and navigate the plains. Horseback riding became essential to their way of life, allowing them to cover vast distances, launch fast raids, and evade enemy forces. The Lakota's mounted warfare was a significant challenge for the U.S. Army, who were not prepared to face such swift and mobile fighters. Spirituality and battle were inseparable for the Lakota. Their ceremonies, such as the Sundance and Vision quests, imbued warriors with a sense of purpose and bravery. These rituals often took place before battles and were believed to provide divine protection and guidance. The Lakota's spiritual connection to their land and the buffalo also fueled their determination to resist U.S. expansion, which threatened both their physical and spiritual survival. One of the most notable events of Lakota resistance was the Battle of Little Bighorn in 1876, led by Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse. The Lakota, along with their Cheyenne allies, decisively defeated General George Armstrong Custer and his 7th Cavalry. This battle is remembered as one of the most significant Native American victories against the U.S. Army. The defeat of Custer, who was an experienced military officer, shattered the myth of U.S. invincibility and sent shockwaves through the Army. Sitting Bull, a spiritual and military leader, became an icon of Native American resistance, symbolizing the courage and determination of the Lakota people. The Red Cloud War 1866 to 1868, which is sometimes referred to as the Bozeman War, was another pivotal conflict for the Lakota. In this war, the Lakota, along with the Cheyenne and Arapaho, successfully forced the U.S. Army to abandon its forts along the Bozeman Trail. The war, named after Red Cloud, one of the most skilled Lakota leaders, resulted in the U.S. Army's first significant defeat on the plains. Red Cloud's leadership and the unity of the Lakota and their allies were key to this success. Despite these victories, the Lakota's spiritual and military resistance ultimately led to tragic events such as the Wounded Knee Massacre of 1890. However, the Lakota Sioux, through their resilience and tenacity, continued to be revered as symbols of resistance against colonial forces. 2. The Apache tribe, masters of guerrilla warfare. The Apache were another fierce and feared tribe, known for their exceptional skills in guerrilla warfare and their ability to adapt to the harsh desert environment. The Apache originally inhabited the regions of present-day Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, and parts of northern Mexico. Like the Lakota, the Apache were semi-nomadic, but they were distinct in their relationship with the land. They lived in the rugged mountains, canyons, and deserts of the Southwest, which made them expert trackers, scouts, and survivalists. The Apache's reputation for resistance was built on their hit-and-run tactics. Their knowledge of the terrain, combined with their exceptional skills in ambush and surprise attacks, made them one of the most formidable opponents the U.S. Army ever faced. The Apache were not interested in conventional warfare. Instead, they relied on quick raids where they would strike suddenly, causing chaos, and then retreat back into the mountains. This type of warfare made it nearly impossible for the U.S. Army to successfully engage them in open battle. Among the most famous Apache leaders were Geronimo, Cochise, and Victorio. Geronimo, in particular, became an icon of resistance. Known for his fearlessness and strategic brilliance, Geronimo led his people in multiple escapes from U.S. forces, carrying out successful raids and eluding capture for years. His reputation spread far beyond the borders of the United States, and he became a symbol of the Apache's relentless fight to preserve their way of life. Cochise, a leader of the Chiricahua Apache, was instrumental in protecting Apache territory during the Apache Wars. His leadership helped the Apache resist U.S. encroachment for many years. Cochise's legacy of courage and leadership continued through his sons and successors, who carried on the fight after his death. The Apache also had a deep connection to their spiritual beliefs, which were often tied to their resistance. Like the Lakota, their rituals and religious practices were a source of strength in battle. The Apache Wars, which spanned several decades, saw a series of violent confrontations between the Apache and U.S. forces. The U.S. Army's attempts to subdue the Apache were met with constant resistance, and it wasn't until the 1880s that the Apache were finally defeated after more than 2 decades of fierce resistance. The legacy of the Apache tribe is one of relentless defiance and resilience. Their ability to fight and survive in some of the most difficult terrain on Earth remains an inspiration, and their resistance is remembered as a key chapter in the broader story of Native American resistance to colonialism. 3. The Comanche tribe, Lords of the Plains. The Comanche were perhaps the most feared of all the Native American tribes of the Great Plains. Known as the Lords of the Plains, the Comanche were exceptional horsemen and warriors who dominated the southern plains. They were one of the first tribes to acquire horses from the Spanish and, in time, became one of the few tribes to engage in horse breeding. This gave them a critical advantage over many of their enemies, allowing them to launch fast and devastating raids, which struck terror into both settlers and the U.S. Army alike. The Comanche were fierce raiders who lived by the motto to fight and steal. Their raids were strategic and brutal. They targeted settlements for horses, goods, and captives, and were especially feared for their ability to strike swiftly and without warning. Their horsemanship allowed them to travel great distances, and their ability to fight while mounted made them formidable opponents. The Comanche perfected the art of mounted archery, which allowed them to shoot arrows with deadly accuracy while riding at full speed. Under the leadership of Quanah Parker, the last chief of the Quahati Comanche, the Comanche were a powerful force in the fight against U.S. forces. Quanah Parker's leadership not only united the Comanche bands, but also made them a significant threat to U.S. military strategy. Parker, who was born to a Comanche chief and a white woman, became a symbol of the Comanche's adaptability and resistance. His tactical genius and ability to coordinate large-scale raids were key to their continued dominance of the southern plains. The Battle of Adobe Walls in 1864, one of the most famous confrontations between the Comanche and U.S. forces, demonstrated the tribe's military prowess. The Comanche, despite being outnumbered, successfully attacked a camp of buffalo hunters, sending a strong message to the U.S. Army about their formidable abilities. The Comanche's relentless raids, their strategic use of horses, and their exceptional leadership made them one of the most formidable and feared tribes of the Great Plains. The U.S. Army, in its attempts to subdue the Comanche, had to adjust its tactics repeatedly. The Comanche's fight for survival eventually led to their defeat, but their legacy as the Lords of the Plains endures. The Lakota Sioux, Apache, and Comanche stand as some of the most legendary symbols of Native American resistance to U.S. military expansion. These tribes not only fought for land and resources, they fought to preserve their way of life, their culture, and their spiritual beliefs. Their enduring legacy is one of bravery, resilience, and determination in the face of overwhelming odds. Even though these tribes were eventually subdued by U.S. forces, their resistance has become an integral part of American history. The stories of City Bull, Crazy Horse, Geronimo, Cochise, Quanah Parker, and other leaders of these tribes are now celebrated as symbols of courage and defiance. Their fight against colonialism and forced assimilation continues to inspire generations, reminding us that the struggle for freedom and self-determination never truly ends. Today, the descendants of the Lakota, Apache, and Comanche continue to fight for the preservation of their culture, language, and traditions. Their legacy serves as a testament to the unyielding spirit of the Native American people and their ongoing struggle for justice and recognition in the modern world.